So in the last few videos, you may have noticed a different ambiance. Currently, I'm in the hoop house that I've been using throughout the winter time and into this spring season, and I want to talk about the projects that I have going on in there and a little bit about how the hoop house was constructed. This is very much of a kind of a DIY project, and there are a few different projects going on in this. So basically, with my gardening projects and things throughout each season, I had been starting to grow more and more plants, and so it was becoming more challenging to have enough space. So this hoop house has afforded me an ability to be able to start different crops out here, especially that are a little bit more cold weather tolerant earlier in the season, like different types of brassicas, right? I've got kohlrabi out here, kale, collards, and cauliflower. And even right now I also have some kanoff and a couple of pepper stem cuttings in here as well. I just bring those two things inside at the end of the day before it gets cold at night, and then I'll bring them back out the next day. But those are just kind of two smaller projects that I have going on. And the bulk of my peppers that I have growing are inside under artificial lighting, because right now it's just not warm enough yet in the hoop house. But once it does get warm enough at night, I will bring other plants out here, and that'll be more space available to grow plants out here instead of inside the house. One of the challenges I had in previous years was once it started getting warmer during the day, I would take a lot of plants outside onto the back porch so that they could get a little bit of sun, get some fresh air, get exposed to the wind to make stronger plants and such. But then I had to bring them back inside at the end of the day, right? Because if it was going to get cold or if there was going to be a frost or whatever. So that was kind of a solid 15 to 20 minutes worth of work each morning and each evening. And I also have a cat, which makes things that much more complicated. So the idea is that hopefully we'll get to a certain point in the season where I can have most, if not all, of the crops out here in this hoop house, and not having to take them inside at night once nighttime temperatures become reasonable for that, not having to worry about stuff like that. Because even I only have so many artificial lights, LED grow lights, and I have that's pretty much all dedicated to peppers, whereas in other years I had cauliflower there too, and that was taking up more space away from the peppers. But now the cauliflower and other cole crops can grow out here where they're a lot more cold tolerant, and they have enough space to grow out here, and they're not interfering with space availability for other crops that are currently inside the house. So basically, a little bit about this hoop house. It was built with 2 trampolines. The only thing that was purchased for the hoop house itself was the plastic. Everything else essentially was free, minus the labor and the fuel to go pick some stuff up. All of the wood that was used to construct it is like old crate wood or just old boards that were lying around in the garage. The tables are made of old sliding glass doors that some people didn't need, and they just had up for free. And those sliding glass doors are positioned on top of barrels that are food grade, and those were also given freely. Overall, it's a really nice structure. I like to work in there because it kind of feels like you're almost outside. You can hear all the bird song around you, kind of like you can right now. It's a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more quiet than being inside a house. Even sometimes if you're inside a house and maybe it is quiet, you still have that very dead sense of silence. But being out here outside, there's so much more life, and it's so much more easy to listen to. So some of the different projects I have going on here, well, obviously right now I have seed starting going on. I said with the cauliflower, kohlrabi, collards, and kale, right? And those are growing on top of these sliding glass door tables, and there are rodent cages around them that fit around on top of the tables, and there is 1/2-inch hardware cloth surrounding that frame. And so the idea of that is that if there were to be any rodents that would get in and climb up, or jump onto the tables, that they would kind of be hindered from that. Rats can't fit in to places generally that are smaller than half an inch, and so that's what we've got here. And so these cages are just an extra layer of protection, and I'm also able to water through them fine with no problem. And the water that I use to water them comes from rain barrels that are fed from the garage roof. And then if it does get like really hot in here, I just open up the door, prop it open with, you know, a rock, and it does seem to ventilate. Another option, and especially as it gets warmer, is to put a door on the other side, so the doors can be open on both sides of the greenhouse or the hoop house, and then you can get that cross ventilation, which is even more effective. The other project that has been going on in here is with compost, right? I've also had issues or challenges with rodents in the compost bins, so I tried to change things up this season with actually what we're using now is steel barrels, again food grade, and so these hold the kitchen scraps, which is the green material, right, the high nitrogen, and then you also add in, of course, the brown material, the high carbon. So a lot of the high content carbon material can just be shredded with a weed whacker in a barrel, right, and that carbon material can be stored with a lid on it in a shed, and then you can pull from that as needed throughout the winter time, right? So you have this nice fluffy dry carbon material to add to the compost. And so that carbonaceous material could be leaves, stalks, all of it should be dried, right? That's, you know, pre-dried, like autumn leaves, dead plant stalks, that kind of thing. And so these compost barrels are positioned on their sides. There are little casters, or, you know, wheels underneath them, so that the barrels can be rotated, and there are 2 steel pipes going through each barrel. Both of those steel pipes are perforated, and so that can allow more air to circulate from the outside into that barrel and help to spur more aerobic decomposition. So of course the size of these barrels was, you know, not enough thermal mass to really generate, you know, any meaningful amount of heat for during the cold weather season. Would have been nice, but it has worked very well in keeping the rodents out of the compost and giving the compost a little bit more insulation, and it's easier to turn, right? So far the decomposition process seems to be going pretty well, and in fact much better than than it was going in the compost bins that were connected to the ground, you know, because those were just hard to turn, and also rodents got in there anyway and ate a bunch of the kitchen scraps. Thank you so much for checking out this video on the hoop house and some of the different projects that are going on within it. Hopefully this video can provide another testament to the DIY community of people who can just set up a non-permanent structure in their backyard and use it to help them grow food. But anyway, I wanted to share some of the different stuff that's going on with this hoop house, and thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.